So I'm getting quite a strong message around the path of liberation and how we're really being guided, ushered, a little bit pushed into higher quantum timelines of our own personal authenticity. So, like, that would be connected to the full moon in Scorpio that we just had, shedding old skins. Like, and again, it's all flowing in spirals and infinity loops, and we're all likely to be getting intuitive downloads and sort of psychic hits about the relevancy of our experiences, letting go of certain communities, letting go of certain relationships, work relationships as well. Divine guidance and love and clarity. I'm going to pull a few more cards for you guys as we share the dailies. And again, my Patreon community always gets ad-free first access and some exclusive content, mainly access to the Be the Change online courses and a 10% discount of working with me when it comes to readings and online yoga and meditation. So I'm hearing, like, again, things like yoga, meditation, tai chi, martial arts, dance, even. All of those are just pointing to our physical embodiment in these bodies, being able to contain our soul in authenticity in these bodies to then channel and communicate our own unique, authentic, divine, creative potential. And it's really via the polarization that we're witnessing externally that continues to point back to the liberation of self. All the potente, all the potent teachings of the prophets, the saints, the people that have come before us to shine light for us, to guide us. We are all endeavoring to step into that Christhood or that Christ consciousness, right? The choice maker, where we can choose our power, we can choose our divinity. But again, that is truly loving and love, service to self, right? Truly loving of the self, which extends itself beyond separation and form. It's not that it's like sunshine and rainbows. It's definitely not that it's all love and light all the time, but it's a deeper truth of self, right? Honoring the body of Christ. That's one and the same. And there is such discernment in all of these teachings, right? And so often, part of the intrigue is that so much of the biggest difficulty is really feeling our own emotional field, honoring when we're feeling shame, when we're feeling guilt, when we're feeling rejection, when we're feeling resentment, right? And then the actions that we take from those different energetics, and that's often out of distortion, projecting archetypal energies onto ourselves, over attaching ourselves to savior complex or the good guy or the bad guy or the good girl or the bad girl. It's really, really profound and subtle. That's part of meditation, vibration. That's part of doing these practices that help us embody more of that energetic, is to discern what we're actually feeling and recognize that it's not up to us to discern for other. That would be like knowing other rather than knowing the self. So picking up when we're over fixating on other, that's often an avoidance of like what we ourselves are actually experiencing. And we've all been there, when we're processing pain, we're processing heartache, we're processing whatever it is that we're processing. And almost like a little distraction. That's, I think, a big part of, how in relationship, how we'll label people like they're a narcissist. And, in my experience, we are all able to express a spectrum of personality distortions, um, which again, can be healed. So just honor yourself, basically. Divine guidance, loving clarity, choosing. There's this internal strength. There's a little pullback here, my lovers. So King of Cups in the reverse, divine guidance, loving clarity. This is a Scorpio, Cancer, Pisces. Do what you like with the genders, especially in these general readings. Look at me pointing at it. Do what you like with the genders, you guys. happening anyway in the collective, isn't it? We're breaking free from that old conformist ideology, endeavoring to claim more authenticity. That's part of how a lot of the gender politic, you could say, is actually creating more polarity, right? Because it's fracturing the status quo. It's kind of going, I don't fit into that. I don't identify with that. I don't want to identify with that. People are like, how dare you? You're confusing my mind. And at the same time, being able to honor, a biological uh, truth. And yet, with technology, who knows where we will go? Ooh, baby. Okay, there's definitely like a bit of deception and or like there could be somebody I want to take those two. You're a lot of y'all are having to cocoon protect yourself. There's something garnering your strength with the strength card. This could be some underlying wounding that we've experienced, being rejected, being left out in the cold, destabilizing our sense of foundation, our sense of security, stability. A choice has been made. I want clarity for the Seven of Swords. Seven of Swords is a bit of a trickery card. The fox is in this image with one eye, like spying on somebody, stealing someone's ideas. Somehow it's connected to a King Cup, Scorpio, Cancer, Pisces, a decision, something like denial, sneakery, trickery. What did I hear recently that it's like floating on the surface of my awareness? It's self-doubt, like not being too frightened to tell the truth. This could be around a love situation. Oh, yeah, and the Hierophant makes me think the key, there could be even a confession. A confession around love, a confession around a love situation. I wasn't telling the truth. I wasn't, right? Whatever. I didn't know how to express that. Like, I'm hearing that song, big wheels keep on turning, roll, do, 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 rolling. Come on, tell me what song that is. The Fool card in the reverse. So this is more like the wheels of time are turning, with the Wheel of Fortune is the outcome. It's all major arcana after this. It's like it's like when a decision gets made for us, which is often like things rumbling under the surface that we can't necessarily consciously see until we see. It's like the idea of rejection is protection. The Mother of Wands is an Aries, a Sagittarius, Leo, going into protection, going into like protective mode. That's the decision. No, I'm going to protect my eggs, right? I'm making that decision, right? So somebody's pulling in and going, this is my decision. This is the decision I'm making for my personal power and strength. And then the Wheel of Fortune, the sands of time, the hands of time, of the divine timing start to take over. That, it is an aspect of our path to liberation. Some of you definitely have the energy of healer, wisdom keeper. That makes me think of channeling the wisdom, channeling the voice of liberation or truth. And again, for a lot of us, it's maybe even letting go of aspects of distortion and stepping into greater personal power. The strength card, right? Stabilizing things via our faith, via our strength. Because the Wheel of Fortune in this card, that's the heart, right? There's a lot of divine feminine energy coming through, knowing our personal power, knowing our worth, being able to shine our essence into the world. Ooh, there's something truly being released, like the world, a finale, a letting go of like forcefulness and potential deception. There again, this is stuff that can really connect to our personal lives, but also in the broader collective. People seeing through deception, people being able to more powerfully recognize the distortion in the systemic long time oppressive techniques, right? Divide and conquer, mass psychoses via mainstream manipulation. Ooh, this is where, again, finding more silence, finding more peace, knowing the difference, knowing our nervous systems, knowing that if we're getting triggered all the time into like the fear, into it's the immigrants or it's the those people or it's the those people, that our minds are being colonized, our minds are being taken over, right? So it really is. I'm hearing our time to shine, and this is the heart of humanity. A mind disconnected from the heart destroys its host. When we see a corrupted or wounded heart mind, we are destructive. We destroy the path, right? For some of you, there's just this little bit of reverb healing around a love situation, lovers in the reverse. Divine, authentic, greater truth coming through a decision that was made for us, maybe shining light on our own deception, the ways we might be lying to ourselves, the ways we might have deceived other. With it being in the reverse, I would say it's unconscious. Sometimes we don't know what we do. What's that expression of good intentions like lead? It's something about we can have the best of intentions. It doesn't mean that it's right for everybody. You know what I mean? Something about the path to hell, though. It's a little bit extreme, but this is really nice. You know, there's some positive energy coming through here, my lovers. I'm suddenly aware of the time. I'm suddenly aware of having yoga sessions, hala vibratories. The last month of April was super chill. And I was able to rest supremely, and I feel like my whole entire nervous system in life has had a complete reset. Wow. Libra, 5th house, partnership. Juno is in the skies right now as well, making aspects. I don't know the specifics, but I do know that Juno is making aspects in the sky, pointing us to higher passions, higher love, or just feeling like inspired to pursue our passions. And a lot of us, that could be greater balance in relationships. So when we're more authentic, you know, when we have the permission to totally pursue our personal authenticity, and like it's so anchored in like self-trust, on serving the self, 6th house, Virgo, right? It's not just like work, serving other people, etc. Because that could be that sometimes if we over project the service to other, there's often likely going to be bypassing of how we're not actually serving ourselves, how we're not looking after ourselves, how we're not loving ourselves, right? How we're not really truly honoring our own personal authenticity, so we're not having to give so much. And I'm super aware of that personally too, of how we can just deny the self, overextend, and or almost like hyper fixate on service, and how to like hyper fixate on like generosity to the point of our own detriment, and phew, yeah. And that's often, I think now, God, 25 years, 30 years, and seeing those loops of over generosity, oversharing, overgiving, feeling indebted, feeling overly responsible, which is usually connected to our childhoods, like especially if we grew up with um narcissism and or neglect. I've shared a lot of this with my sister, but like where it's like our existence, we don't exist. Sounds bizarre, but like it's almost like you adopt this underlying mentality that like my existence um needs to not be my, as in, or my only existence is to serve. Hence this idea of hypervigilance, being overly empathic, feeling overly responsible for other people. And that usually, again, if we had a depressive mother, if we had lots of money worries growing up, then we feel overly responsible to look after other people, to look after ourselves. So if everybody else is looked after, then I can be looked after, then I can be safe, right? And often is the case, we don't even know that we're acting these out until we start to follow the path, until we have these sorts of awakening experiences, or just, yeah, aha moments where it's like, oh my God, I could probably look after myself more. Hello, Willish. Hello, bud. The cat. Hi, buddy. The cat has come in. So, relationship or heavy emphasis. And this is the truth too. I think often is the case when we're undergoing spiritual transformation, which is just life transformation, ebbs and flows, comings and goings, right? Peaks and troughs. And then a bit of greater stability as we come into union with self. So there's a sort of culmination, and then a release, and then a sense of neutrality for the path. That's liberation, right? Being able to hold space for the polarization without getting attached to one spectrum, i.e., no longer are we projecting or love and light, la la la. No, it's because it's not all benevolent. It's not all good. We have to hold space for our shadow. We have to be able to be with our pain and our rejection and our deception, sneakery. And again, it's often through relating and through owning our body. And again, it's very visceral. It's happening in the body. It's not outside of self. If we're hyperfixating on other, we're likely bypassing or avoiding something within self, a shadow. We perceive other as doing XYZ, we're often denying the shadow. And it can take years to hone the practice, right? Because it's a mental emotional thing. It's not necessarily obvious. This is people who and this is part of how we overcome, is to recognize the ways we might be over caretaking. Again, the caretaker energy is like beautiful, but if we're ruining ourselves looking after other people, if we're not truly looking after ourselves, sixth house, Virgo, the nodal axes moving through the Pisces Virgo axes, we will burn out, we will overuse, we will potentially lie, deceive, and manipulate if we're not really able to look after ourselves. The only way that we can actually sustain looking after other people is by looking after ourselves. And I, long time teaching yoga and following the intuition, etc. It's just been continual fucking lessons in having to fill up my own cup. And I've said this to actual clients and students along the way, like earlier on in my yoga teaching career, especially once, classes started to get really busy and the career's going well, and I was, being able to look after myself a little more. I remember like almost burning out. And part of the trigger was being in class and obviously setting up, being there, being in the space early, and having a student or participant show up like 5-10 minutes earlier and I had this like, like, as in I didn't have the energetic space to hold. And that's when I knew I needed to take a break. And that was after a solid years of like intense practice training, teaching, and probably over a year of just teaching because there was a part of this love and discipline for it. And I would just teach 6, 7 days a week. I was writing and blogging and I was zapping out. I was burning out. And me almost projecting like this annoyance at obviously somebody that I would love and appreciate under normal circumstances. I was like, okay, I need a holiday. And any of you who are in business for yourself or are freelancing, you get me. You feel me. That it can be hard to say no. It can be hard to stop because there's this tiny little bit of you that's like, I got to keep it coming in, right? I got to keep the money coming in. And I know, and then this that was back in like 2012, 2013. So here we are 12 years later and it's like same different. It's sort of that energy of trust, deep surrender. Because what is life? You know, we're not in control, but we're experiencing. So it's like I want to enjoy the experience. I want to play more. I want to have fun more. That means having trust that we're loved and looked after and, you know, that everything lines up. And that in and of itself, because the world would instill us with so much fear and potential victimhood and or unconscious expectation, right? Lovers reverse. A retreat, Mother of Wands. This energy is retreating. Now, 2-time with the Strength card, yeah? This is a pretty evolved cycle, I'm hearing. Evolved cycle. This is a high level expression of self, shining that light. The Wheel of Fortune. You guys, can really, truly expect some good things. Some of you are really, like, pulled with the schizophrenia. Some of you might be really being ushered to let go of the fight, let go of the duality, let go of trying to be this and then trying to be that. Schizophrenic card, like holding on to having one foot in one world while you're kind of reaching for another world. There's an internal battle, okay? There's some kind of internal battle. Higher light is shining for us. That would be our divine feminine expression, shining its light from our heart, from our soul, right? Okie dokie, my loves. We're gonna close her there. Have a great week and weekend. Hi, Elish. I shall feed the cat. Thanks for being here. If you've made it to the end, I appreciate the likes, the subscribes, the sharing, so that we can continue to grow this channel and this community. And I really appreciate every single one of you. Again, my patrons get ad-free first access. Top tier patrons get access to the Be the Change courses. They also get a 10% discount on working with me, whether it's through having regular readings and or doing the yoga work. And I think that's all. The low tier patrons still get ad-free first access and access to exclusive content. I do post on TikTok. I'm off Instagram. And I simply post the some blogs and bits of writing on Facebook, but really essentially coming off. I'm not answering DM. I'm just getting so much, and have done for years, but I'm getting so much spam and ickiness on TikTok, or rather the other Facebook and Instagram, that I just can't be bothered. But I'm kind of slowly weaning off. But they're all still active, you know. Ultra Love Apparel. You can obviously go to the store. And all of this, you can find all of this stuff on my actual website as well. So if you go to ultralove.com, there's a shop there where you can find the link to buy my book. This is not my book. My book is called The Fearless Life Guide. It's on Amazon Kindle and Audible. But this is one of the journals from the T-Mill store. There's some amazing products, I must say. There's some amazing products on my Tmall store. So thank you. All of these are different ways to support myself, small businesses, small content creators. You know, live a life. I've been chuffed as well with just the shift I've made since coming back from Morocco, and I have been um almost solely been shopping at local independent stores, getting all my produce, food source from local independent farm shop, and then looking at growing. So I've potted individual little seeds. A friend came and helped make a garden bed. So I'm finally getting into like growing my own. I made a little like potato sack, and yeah, I'm really excited for the harvest and to see what can be born, and so grateful for all the love and support over the years. So check it out. All to love. Holla Shazam. You guys are amazing. Have a great weekend, you guys, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. Peace out.